Before we leap into the scum that is this week's American Horror Story, we need to talk about the unedited version of last week's EP. If you don't want to know what was cut out, skip to the next paragraph. But it's important, because Drive. Vincent was shot and died in front of Ivy. That seems like rather an important thing to omit. It was tragic, and we have to wonder whether it was intentional, and if it was, who wanted it. Moving on. History may change, but her story always repeats itself. Even if you loathe the word her story, and come on, why wouldn't you? One must admit that there's truth in that quote. Even as society and indeed, humankind moves forward, the power disparity between genders is always there. This week saw a bombshell appearance by Lena Dunham, and the return of Jamie Brewer and Frances Conroy. How we have missed them. A new cult was introduced as Bev begins to become disillusioned by Kai's attitude. And it's a good one. As always, expect spoilers for Valerie. Solanas died for your sins, scumbag follow. We begin in June of 1968, and a young woman engaging in an active prostitution. It's Lena Dunham. She's really the perfect controversial actor to play another, even more controversial person. Let's pause so all the Dunham haters can get that out of their system. Okay, good, moving on. In addition to living a life of abuse and torment, Valerie Solanas is told by her friend Andy Warhol and almost unrecognizable Evan Peters that women can't be serious artists, and ought to stick to pretty jobs like acting and modeling. Dang. We also learned that the phrases, "fuck you, you little dick piece of dog shit," and "suck my dick, Warhol," are now perfectly acceptable on television. If I seem to harp on that, it's because when I was born TV sitcoms thought the word pregnant was too graphic for network Family Hour. There's an irony to Solanas being known primarily as a shooter, since the evidence would suggest that she's a terrible shot. She does shoot Andy though, without killing him. I dare say that this portrayal of Warhol is the closest to my understanding of him, and much more truthful than the version on H-Boss vinyl. Peters seems to understand Warhol's more annoying traits while amping up the misogyny a lot of the art community tolerated, or even embraced about him. Watch Warhol's horror movies for a clearer picture of his dislike for women. Fast forward to modern day, and we're in the fictional Michigan town of Brookfield Heights. Beverly reports on the mass shooting where Meadow and 4 other people died, and Ally was taken into custody. Ally isn't blamed for being the shooter, which is fortunate for her. But the cops still think she knows more than she's saying. Ivy tries to contact Officer Handsome, who I just realized is Arsenal from Arrow, to see what's up, but he's not answering his phone. Harrison's statement about his wife frames her as a disgruntled Hillary supporter looking for revenge. So it's a lame conservative fantasy. I'm surprised a good guy with a gun wasn't set up to end Meadows' rampage. When Beverly arrives to see Kai, she's stopped by a Fight Club-esque group of guards who snigger at her when her back is turned. Kai, delighted by his skyrocketing poll numbers and Eric Trump retweet, condescends to her in a big way. The tide has turned, and Kai feels secure enough in his position to start dicking around his loyalists. That's a shame, because a woman named Bebe, a delightful Frances Conroy, approaches Bev with the suggestion that Meadows' rampage was a false flag operation. Which, of course, it was. Bebe gives Bev an address to meet at, and we know she'll end up going there, especially when Kai is evasive on Meadow. I was concerned that we'd only get that one tiny scene with Lena Dunham, but there was plenty more to be had. A women's meeting at the butchery finds Ivy, Bev, Bebe, and Winter all sharing info and hearing about Valerie from someone who knew her back in the day. Or did she? Ivy isn't worried about Ally talking to the cops, since she'll nuts no matter what she says. She can't prove it. The storytelling of Valerie's history, her story and that of Scum Society for cutting up men, is brilliant. Beeb's narration appears to support Solanas, her philosophies, and even her violent machinations. But as the flaws in Valerie's logic, her execution, and even her facts are obvious. Plenty of wars were started by women, Catherine the Great, for example, or Mary Tudor, or Cleopatra. Some would say Margaret Thatcher. So yeah, Solanas had some brilliant ideas and made life-changing socio-political observations. But she also had psychotic breaks and was unable to separate her personal traumas and victimizations from broad societal trends. Because of this, the women of Scum get killy and stabby. Watch for the phrase pussy envy. In short, Solanas is the reason some people still think feminist means wants to kill all men, or at least cut all their dicks off. Also, Lena looks very much like the real Valerie Solanas, but wait, there's more. Scum, according to American Horror Story, is responsible for the killings known as the Zodiac murders. I imagine Arthur Lee Allen's family will be delighted to hear it. This revelation turns into a long twisty subplot where some random man takes credit for Scum's killings, and in Solanas' mind, steals accomplishments from these women. Even when Solanas goes to the police and confesses, they refuse to take her seriously. After shooting Warhol lands her in a mental institution, thank goodness it wasn't Briarcliff, right? She runs this violent revolution from the hospital, where apparently, phone bugs were not in use. Valerie's hit list included Hugh Hefner, noted chauvinist Bobby Riggs, Billy Graham, and Steve McQueen. Winter and Kai have always been on shaky ground. She admits that her brother terrifies her, and he uses this to his advantage despite her openness and honesty toward him. Kai complains about how much pressure he's under. It's city council, not POTUS. By the time he says, heavy is the crown, we have to roll our eyes and the pomposity of it all. This is a good time to mention that Vincent has not been seen or mentioned this week. Still not sure how the show will handle that. Winter has a copy of the Scum Manifesto, which might seem like Kai caught her doing something bad. He's intrigued by the power of it, the power to persuade. Fear as truth is the clown cult's likely new slogan, though we also haven't seen any clowns this week. That might be behind us forever. Is Kai's line, say hi to the girls for me, then you have a nice day before Winter leaves. Kai riles her up with an offensive slogan Harrison apparently made up. Harrison Wilton heads to the butchery to plan Kai's victory party and make him a version of the Iron Throne. Instead, he's ritually murdered by the contemporary chapter of Scum. This is juxtaposed with Valerie Al conducting a similar ritual murder of a male member of their group. Watch for bodies to be arranged like the zodiac symbol, which was also found on a popular at the time. Note Arthur Lee Allen, who died before he could be investigated for the Zodiac murders, had the same. By the end of the episode, Beverly is using her news broadcast to openly antagonize Kai. It's pretty hilarious, especially because at this point, we can't know which of them will win. Cut to Kai-ing Beverly on TV, turning to someone and declaring that they're at their best when they're angry. Don't you think? Camera pulls back, and it's Bebe. This whole thing was one long con, with Harrison as the sacrifice. Or is it a con plus a double cross? Or a triple cross? Seriously, all these allegiance jumps are making me dizzy. Will it turn out that Kai really is the puppet master of everyone he got away with staging a bunch of suicides and orchestrating murders? He might get away with a whole lot more. At the same time, Beverly thinks another, more successful assassination attempt is in order. I'm curious to know who everyone is rooting for. All of these characters are inherently flawed, damaged, and devious. Hasn't been truly vile to anyone, but shes so annoying it's hard to root for her. Beverly makes a lot of sense, but shes are way quick to resort to violence. She almost shot Bebe, for no good reason. Kai is right out. From the very first episode, Oz has been the only character that isn't awful in one way or another. We also need to talk about Roger. Who killed him? Why won't they tell us? When will we find out? The answer has to be huge, or else we'd probably know by now. This was a strong, fascinating, and highly entertaining episode. With a mere 3 episodes remaining in the season, we can expect more death, more tragedy, and hopefully more Francis Conroy. See yous next week. 0.9 torture, 1.9 extremely horrendous, 2.9 very bad, 3.9 bad, 4.9 poor, 5.9 not so good, 6.9 average, 7.9 good, 8.9 very good, 9.9 amazing, 10 virtually perfect.